I think something we will see in the next year. Clearly, the banks have a lot of assets under control, let's put it this way, and they will try to sell them. The question is, how will this happen? In which technical way will this happen? And I think there is a big misperception in this in the market, which is that you can go to those banks, and the banks can, in the context of a distressed real estate sale, actually sell those assets to the investor, which is not the case, because under Italian law, I mean, first of all, the assets are held through loan structures, so they're not property of the bank. If the bank wants to obtain title to those assets and then sell them off, they need to go through a foreclosure procedure, and that takes, under Italian practice, 3 years, 4 years, it sometimes faster, but in general it takes a long time, and that's not the time perspective I think investors look at. They don't want to wait that long. So what actually happens today is that the banks are offering partnerships in the sense that they offer to the investor to replace the borrower on the corporate level. So the loan remains untouched. The borrower is replaced, and then the investor needs to put some equity in it, and you're trying to create the value of this asset with a new equity, with an extended loan at a lower value, obviously in the books, and then you try to bring that asset back into the market, and whatever comes as a proceed is in some way shared between bank and the investor. So that would be the way I see this happening. A slightly different story is for the leasing companies. The leasing companies are owning the assets, so they can actually sell. Whether they want to do this straightforward is another question, because again, realizing losses means pain. So even the leasing companies might want to look at partnerships which allow them to carry on those assets at book value, and over time in some way turn back to initial values and then sell it in the market and share the proceeds. I don't see major changes happening this year. As we discussed this morning, I think the sector where you can see most movements, if any, is the retail sector. And we have companies, foreign investors looking at Italy. We all know about ECE, Westfield. I think Unibail Rodamco is a company who's looking at our country. Those investors are still looking at an upside potential. They're seeing an upside potential in retail, and I think they will come back and hopefully increase those poor numbers which we've seen this morning for 2012. In the office segment, I don't see much happening. I think the concern is by investors that the tenants are weak right now under the general economic framework, and so in the office sector, obviously tenant quality is of essence. So I really would see, if at all, the activity picking up after the summer, I'm afraid, in retail.